Hey, hello everyone. I hope you can hear me.
Hello, hi Imran. Hi everyone.
Hey, Kiki, how are you? Doing good?
I'm good and doing good. How about you?
I'm doing fine. I'm doing fine. So I think it's already 2, so we can
Yes.
start basic stuff. What is it exactly and why we are trying to do this STEM club? First and foremost, I would like to tell to the audience who may watch it now or later that this is the STEM club kind of science, technology, engineering, and medicine uh, club that why we will try to come together all of the researchers around the world. For example, in this initiative, me, Kiki, who's here now with me, and other one, Piyush, who will join me after some time. We started this initiative to kind of have conversations, weekly or bi-weekly sessions about science, its communication, and also opportunities. And we will also have some host always an expert or a student or master's, PhD, and postdoc, and sometimes we can have some professors also in these live sessions. So today we are honored to have both of the founders who, it's not only my brainchild, so it's a brainchild of Piyush, Kiki, and also I put some contribution to it. So it was good to start working with them and initiate this. So the main, this is what STEM will be about. But I think that the social media in current time plays very important role in discussing science, opportunities, and connecting to people around the world. So we try to take this opportunity for this Instagram and social media platform to communicate science in simple terms to most of the people. I think that in future, many people will try to join us and they will be interested to contribute their part in this. So starting with the first speaker today, kind of, let's say, introductory speaker, which is also a part of STEM Club. So we are joined with Kiki. She is also having her Instagram page. You can check that page also. And so Kiki, I would like you to start with your introduction, like your academic studies, where are you from, and what helped you to pursue science?
That's right. Thank you, Imran. First, I want to add something like highlight that the three of us started this initiative, and as Imran said, we wanted to communicate science in a simple and easy way. Also, we wanted to highlight our work life because the three of us, we all work in a research field in different parts of Europe. So one of our objectives is to host weekly or bi-weekly other people in STEM so they can talk about their research life in maybe in different parts of Europe or in different parts of the world. Who knows? It depends how well this initiative goes. So concerning me, I'm Italian and I'm based in Naples, Italy, so in southern Italy. I'm doing a PhD. Actually, I'm in my last year. In let's say 4 or 5 months, I will have my PhD defense. And I mostly work on crop physiology. What I'm trying to do is try to study climate change and how they affect crops. And I'm doing this in controlled environment agriculture, so I can try to modulate the environment and so causes some stresses to the plant to see how they react from a physiological and morphological point of view. And during my PhD, I've been traveling a lot, so I can maybe also talk about differences between how I work in Italy and how I work in different parts of the world. For example, I was a year in the US, in Arizona, and some months in Germany. But for now, that's it. Also, Imran, I'd like you to introduce your work and what you do.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, thank you very much for this introduction and giving us this overview of your academic part and right. I think it's good to people know you travel other places also, how differences in different scientific parts, how science is networking. So in my case, I was born in north of India and I started my undergrads and all schooling in the North India. Then I moved to Delhi for a short internship program. It was in structural biology. After that, I got an opportunity for an international fellowship 1 year. It was based in Hungary, Szeged, southern part of Hungary, where I continued my PhD studies in plant molecular biology, mostly working on a kinase family and their role in plant developmental processes. After that, finishing my PhD, I did a very short postdoc. I was there for 6 months. Then I got an opportunity here in Sweden, north of Sweden. So here I'm working as a postdoc now. Here I'm working more about plant cell mechanics and dynamics. And so we try to do some biophysical modeling and confocal and some bioinformatic approach. So during the part of science journey, I also traveled to various parts of Europe for conferences, and it's really interesting because Hungary, for example, became for me a gateway to the Europe to explore, not only do science, but also explore in terms of ways, make connections, networking, and communicate my part of science. So it was really interesting to be starting my career abroad here. So this is for me at the moment, but I will go on with you for the next question would be about, so you already communicated some part of your research, but maybe you can sum up a brief overview of your collaborative part, for example, like why you travel for collaboration to many places, how people can get opportunities. Maybe you add a few lines to it.
Sure. For example, I spent almost a year in Arizona because in Italy, or at least in southern Italy, it's common for universities to say every PhD student has to spend almost at least 6 months abroad. So they do this as mandatory during your PhD, and I think it's very cool because if you have to, so it's mandatory, you have to spend a period abroad, you are more willing to create connection because maybe you want to go in a specific place. And the best things about it is that your university pays for it. So when you maybe create a connection, for example, my connection was because one of my research is in plant space related research. So at the conference, I met this professor and I started the connection with him. I started talking about what he was doing, and I asked if I could come there. And of course, he said, I don't have funds at the moment, which is common, unfortunately. And that's when I said, no, but my university will pay for it. For you, it will just be like a free internship. And he was very happy about it because it was like a win-win strategy. So I was working there, so they had help, and I was learning a lot and using their facilities, which were very, very good. So that's why I created this connection. And there I worked in a controlled environment agriculture centers. They had the huge facilities. I was in charge of the vertical farm at the moment, and I learned a lot also because they were all engineers. So I needed to learn something about their work, and they needed the plant physiologist there. So it was a great collaboration. Whereas I went to Germany after that. I was back like in 3 weeks now, and this was because I applied for a grant in phenotyping. There is a consortium in Europe which is called European Phenotyping Network, EPPN. It's the acronym. And I applied with the project I was working on, and again, they will pay you for traveling and accommodation, but you have to be in a PhD program or in a postdoc program, so you will actually get paid by your university. So this kind of grants are really increasing, I think, in this period, and they are very good experience.
Yeah,
Whereas I had a question for you.
Yes.
Like, how was your transition from PhD to postdoc?
Well, yeah, this is really very important question. I mean, as a personal experience when I was doing my PhD, so usually involves first years you have some coursework, but so also in the postdoc and PhD there is a kind of let's say a difference. So in the postdoc you are totally independent. You design your project. Sometimes you design your own experiments. Okay, you meet the PI, but you're kind of more independent, and the growth is a bit faster as compared to the PhD. Because in the case of PhD, you are assigned to go for coursework. It's a kind of training program. So PhD itself is a study, so it's a kind of training. But you imply those experiences in postdoc. But the difference, most important, is that in postdoc, usually you have to design your own ideas sometimes, and you go with your own strategies. You troubleshoot things. You kind of communicate science. You have to network more with collaborators. You want to, like, you know that this part of work can be done in other lab. You go and meet him, or you just discuss the idea. So you have to tend to be a bit more, let's say, a bit more creative in terms of ideas.
Mm-hmm.
So major difference in PhD. Of course, you have to think in PhD too, but in postdoc, you're gonna have less span of time. You have like 2 years, 3 years funding. So you have to concentrate all the things in these 2 years. So you're going to be a bit more efficient. You are trying to be more efficient, but also depends on your project goes and approach. I think the transition from PhD to postdoc, it's a good experience. I would suggest people, like, for example, if people don't want to go to industry at the moment, or they want to go to after post PhD training, I guess one postdoc, small or big, is really good experience to do. I would really suggest, even if you go to industry afterwards, or you go to other. So it's really,
But
yeah.
did you write your own project, or you applied for a position which was already there?
Well, actually, in my case,
We
I
also have a
tried to
question
apply
from
for my
the
own project
audience.
also.
Okay.
Yes, let me take this question. Josh, the cancer biologist, is becoming a PI in the next step after a few good years in postdoc, or is there a step between? Is becoming a PI the next step after a few good years, or is there a step between? Okay, if I understand well, the question is that, like, after getting your postdoc 2, 3, 4 years, or if you have a big postdoc, is the PI the next step, or is there something between? That's a really good question, because like, we are a lot of PhDs, postdocs who are competing to be PIs, and PI fundings are limited. So to be a PI, to have your own group, you need to have, let's say, a multidimensional approach in science. For example, you need to have a very strong CV with good high track publications, and if you can concentrate that within span of 2, 3 years, you can apply. The more fresher you are with good success, the more chances of becoming a PI, and like
Yes.
to get funded for the projects. And also, to be a PI, you have to plan it, pre-plan before. For example, if you're doing postdoc 2 or 3 years, with middle of the postdoc, for example, 1.5 year, you have to design your project. You should know that time that I have to write my project at this stage, which I will apply for a funding for my PI position somewhere. So in that case, you have to be very much pre-planned. I'm sure, like, there are open positions for PI always, but competition getting very high, and the CV describes a lot. And of course, your connections, they also work, but mostly it depends on the CV and your efforts and your project, how you fund. So if you are
And
young,
also,
yeah,
yeah, if I can add something, I think it also depends from the regulation from different states. For example, in Italy, this is okay if you are working in, let's say, research institute. But if you are at the university, there are some steps you have to take, and there are like two kind. You do PhD and postdoc. Then there are two kind of researcher. We call it like researcher type A and researcher type B. It can sound weirdly, but maybe in other nation it's kind of the same. So the type A, you apply, it's a national, let's say, contest. It depends on your CV, and also you do some interviews. And if you do it, you can have this role with a small group, let's say, for a couple of years. Then you apply for, let's say, researcher B, and you can apply for this like 2 times only. after that 2 time it's done. But if you became a researcher type B, then you became directly a professor. So it's a straight route. But it's very difficult. You have to have a great CV and a lot of projects already. So it's kind of complicated.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit complicated in that term. So yeah, you can be a PI you can have a group at the university where you have teachings and you can have your own research group, or you can have a research institute where you have your independent group. So I think in that case, what his question was like this, I mean, is the PI the next step? I wouldn't say always PI is the next step, because I have seen people who are second postdoc, third postdoc. So it depends on your career. And so you have to prepare on things. I think within your postdoc, you have to think all of this. Or you want to go
Exactly.
to the industry. So in that case, it's another branch. So yeah.
I think when you start a postdoc, you have to really think what you want to do next. Maybe you can try a postdoc during the first year, and then you have to think it through, because you have to do something in order to choose your future career. Am I right?
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, that's for sure. So yeah, I mean, Kiki, let's go to the next question, which is current scenario. Let's say it's a really important question in my terms and also in your terms, I guess. So this year we had a very big global pandemic, which is COVID-19, COVID, we call it, or coronavirus, very, very famous name these days. So how did this affect your work and your, let's say, personal growth, or your, let's say, your research or scientific part? Did it interfere with your scientific part, or any funding issues or other things, which is, please have light on it.
Well, that's an interesting question. It was very challenging to be, I think, in academia during this COVID-19 pandemic. When it first started, actually, in March last year, in Europe, Italy was the first one. It hit Italy first. At that time, I was in the US, and it was already very stressful and complicated, because I had to cancel my plan. Like, I had 2 weeks over there to finish, and I had to cancel and came back to Italy, because
Yeah.
my visa was expiring. So I had to think that through, what to do, if remain there. And because at the time nobody even know what was like. We heard about China, but at the beginning we thought it was confined over there. Then when it started in Italy, it started in a specific part in northern Italy, and everybody thought, okay, maybe it won't affect the whole nation, the whole world. So I had this very, very difficult situation, and I decided to get back. Once back, basically it was very bad, because from March to May, we had to stay home and quarantine. I managed to do some work online and remotely, and work on my papers, basically. But since I was already in my last year of PhD, I was struggling I needed to go into the lab to finish my analysis. And then in May, we opened the lab again with turnation and all this stuff. So it took more time to finish my analysis. And also, I won this grant to go to Germany, and it was supposed to go in June, but then I delayed it and I went in September. So it was kind of stressful, because when I came back 3 weeks ago, it was already the second wave of Corona situation, and I had to quarantine. So again, I couldn't go to the lab to finish my analysis. And also, when you are in a different nation for a short period, so you don't actually live there, it's always very stressful, this situation, because you don't know if you can stay longer, or if you have to go back because of your visa or stuff. So it affected, but let's say I'm trying to stay positive, to do as much work as I can remotely from home, so home office. And when I can access the lab, I try to do turnation with my colleagues, and try to do in one day most I can. So basically to finish my analysis as soon as I can. I don't know if it was, for example, the same for you in Sweden. How was your work affected by the corona?
In Sweden, they didn't have, when I was pandemic, I recently joined like 6 months ago. So I was partially in Hungary. So there were some restrictions, but I had to go. Sometimes it did affect some ways. Some people were not available. So but I think it was not going that bad because I was already finished with my PhD and it was a post PhD stage. But then I moved here, so here they didn't have much strict restrictions, and like still now you can go, but there are some like social distancing you have to keep. Like those who can work from home, who have bioinfo or dry lab stuff, they can work from home, but who have the wet labs, so they have to go. So I think
Sure.
that is somehow it affected also in some funding issues. I think not for me at
Mm.
least, but like maybe some grants were stopped at the moment, or some positions or some grants were diverted. So that might affect that affected actually.
It's
Question.
true.
If you can read and answer, if you try to answer this question.
Yeah, but I think maybe you should because it's kind of similar to your situation. If I want, I can read it for you. So he's asking, he's from India and he wants to pursue a PhD abroad, but he doesn't know what should I start doing from now to increase my chance of getting a PhD abroad. On what basis does the professor select the student?
Yeah, that's a very basic, nice question actually. I mean, if you are trying to apply from India to abroad, any part of the world, I mean, it's a strategy is different. I know in India you need to have some examinations, or you have to go for written or let's say interviews for some universities or institutes, or you need to have some basic state level examinations, for example, NET or JRF and others. But if you are trying to apply abroad, you need to have a little bit different strategy here. I guess there are two ways. One way is to go through a graduate school where you find a graduate school, they have open positions, you follow the protocol, you have the application, motivation letters and others, or language certificates if they ask for. And the other way is to communicate, for example, a PI or any group leader of your interest. For example, if somebody has a group working on, for example, cancer biology, so your expertise and your experience and your interest is also cancer biology, and you have done some research or basic level at BSc or MSc level. So you can approach that professor, you can say to him that you can send him your CV, or if you can also, it would be good if you can generate a small idea, like you can read his papers and say that I have this idea, I want to have my PhD on this. If you have any fundings, or we can apply fundings. So in that way, you have to write a very brief email with your letter, motivation letter, and your, let's say, a small idea in half a page. That should be enough, and your CV. So once you approach the professor and he sees your CV with expertise is overlapping and the idea is nice, if he has a funding, or he also can help you in applying for a funding. So in that way,
Exactly.
this is the other way which is also working, and these ways.
Yeah.
So you have to be really much precise what to apply and what not apply. For example, when I was applying, I was not keeping in mind the precision. Like, so maybe I did applied, for example, if I applied 10 positions, the success rate was not so high. And let's say, for example, at initial stage, then if I pre-plan things and was very much focused that what to apply and what not, maybe that helps a lot. So
Yeah, but
in
if I can add something, when you apply for an open position, maybe sometimes they say they search for a very specific figure. So they put a lot of information, but actually they try to find the best in all the specific things they want, but you should apply whatever, even if you read and you said, oh, these things I have never done, because sometimes the PI judge you for your interest and for your person. And if you say, I'm willing to learn, I've never done this, but I'm willing to learn and I'm fast learner and I have done other things. So you don't have to get discouraged for the open position, which sometimes require very specific information.
Yeah, for the open positions, yes, you can apply always, even if it's overlapping your part of research. That maximizes the chances, but even if it's not, you can always change, you can switch. So you can see that if the cancer biology or he's working in stem cell part of the same, so So you can really try to apply that way. I mean, so there is two ways, one graduate school way and other thing you have to approach a professor. I mean, what you told also works. That's very informative, I guess. Yeah, so I think that was it. Some questions for you. And maybe we don't have some questions from others. If not, then we can try to have our second, let's say, person who is also associated with this STEMS club, which is Piyush. And I would say thank you, Kiki, for your words and everything.
Yes, I think it's time to switch. So
Thank you very much. So I will switch and let me take on the other call.
thank you. It's time to switch. See, I'll listen to you guys. Bye.
Bye. Have a nice time. Thank you. Hey.
Hello.
Hey, Piyush, how are you doing?
Very well. What about you?
I'm doing fine. I'm doing good. How is it going?
Yeah, it's just working well, everything. So, yeah, I was listening this session.
Uh-huh.
It was nice, and I also had, saw this question, which was about this PhD thing.
Yeah, sure. Go. If you have some suggestions or something, go ahead, please.
Yeah. So, first of all, I would like to introduce myself. That I'm Piyush Gupta. I'm doing my PhD in University of Freiburg. So this is my first year of PhD. So I can just suggest a little bit that because I already went through this like PhD process and all everything. So I would just like to suggest one thing, that if you want to apply for PhD position or if you're looking for any opportunity, so you should first should be very well informed about the professor. If you're like applying directly to professor, not open positions. And also before applying, you should, as you mentioned, that read some papers, and if you can like write a small proposal or something like that, so that would be also helpful. And especially if you have a specific experience, like let's say some little bit of research exposure in the lab, then that's really very helpful to get PhD positions, especially in Europe.
Yes, that's good, actually. I mean, what you said is kind of also the same, what I was telling you, added some notes to it. It's
Yeah.
really, we have the something, let me take this. There is, I guess, I'm also the same guy, Josh, the cancer biologist. Thank you for posting questions, Josh. I'm also in India and trying for abroad PhD. Expensive tests like GRE, I guess it's the graduate record examination, the ones, and TOEFL are absolutely necessary. I wouldn't say like always they are not necessary. I mean,
Yeah.
as personal experience, I never had any language test or I didn't have GRE. But yeah, if you have a GRE, it's very much precise to go for US. They really offer it, and very much. I think few institutions in Europe they may accept also GRE, but it's not mandatory too much in Europe. GRE is specific to United States, and TOEFL would be good. For example, in most of the graduate schools in Europe also, they ask for some language examinations, but not always TOEFL or IELTS. Sometimes they also accept some university level examinations or some examinations. If you are, for example, if your studies are always in English and you come from, for example, India, and while your education was in English, all your and undergrads and schooling. So in that case, you can speak and communicate well. So when a professor interviews you, so he checks your language also in that way. So you have to keep in mind that when you are interviewed for a PhD position, he does not only check your, for example, scientific part or your interest, he also checks your language, how you can communicate with. So I think, for example, Piyush is in Germany, so he doesn't speak in German language
Yeah.
with his,
Yeah.
he speaks. This was the same case with me. But yeah, if you know the local language, it makes life a little bit easier, but it's not
Yeah.
meant
Yes.
But yeah, if you have specific institutions while they require these TOEFL, IELTS, or other examinations, then you have to, if you have some institution in mind, then you have to go for it, and of course you have to really get a score. I don't know, for 6.5, 7 should work. So yeah, okay, we have. Thank you. I think we have a few more questions. Let's go. Before I go to you, Piyush, I may
Yeah.
ask: is MS thesis considered as a research experience? I mean, you can answer it if you want, or I can go for it. This question. I
Uh,
think Gaurav K says that is the master's thesis considered as a research experience? Surely, yes. I think
it
in my
is, yeah. So, and also it depends on uh, uh, the period of research, whether it is 6 months of master's thesis or 1 year of master's thesis, and yeah, so it helps a lot.
Yeah, surely. And the other question is from Estandale Dailis Mary. Okay, Mary, I know her, I guess. Maybe you know her too. She's quite communicative with our group. And why apply abroad and not in India? Curiosity. Really good question. I mean,
Yeah.
why don't we apply in India? I mean, I know in Indian institutions, some institutions really good. I mean, I can name them. They are really reputed and good ranking and other things. And the labs are also doing good. I wouldn't say all, but most of them. There are not good labs. There are bad labs. But if you sometimes some people want to have an international experience to go to Europe, or Europe to have they have some labs of specific interest, and they try to find those labs mostly in the Europe. So to maximize the chances again, so you find, like, for example, in Germany you have a lot of institutions to do research, a lot, and you don't find that topics are very limited in India, for example, maybe 10 labs or 5, but you have like 50, 60 labs in Germany. Also, it depends on your, for example, your interest. If you want to explore science, you want to network, you want to go abroad. And other things also, sometimes in Indian institutions, you have examinations which are really hard. Sometimes not, competition is really high. And not all the people can go for it. Some people go and some people cannot qualify, so they prefer also abroad and other things. I think these are the most criteria what usually people think to move abroad. And moving abroad, in my case, should be good experience, even if you do PhD in India or if you have tried to go for postdoc abroad.
Yeah. And also, so what was the question again? Sorry. Uh,
Why
why
why not?
why not apply to India rather than abroad? So the thing is, research or doing PhD is not just like for research purposes. It's also like to have an networking as well, because at the end you will be, let's say, PI, or you will have your own group, research group. So for that you need some kind of like networking as well, because when you will write some grants or something like that, then you need collaboration as well. And if you are already having these kind of exposures with in your PhD, then it would be really helpful.
Yeah, that's good actually. That's the main point. I think, I hope we don't have more questions. Should we? Yeah, we have.
One more question is there, I
Yeah,
guess.
I think, should we send our research proposal directly or before confirming a PhD position under a PR? Because we spent so much time to come up with a research question.
So it depends actually. So all PIs do not like. So you don't need to send the research proposal. But if you're applying for a scholarship, let's say for Germany, there is BAD, or there is one more prestigious scholarship called BIF, Boehringer Ingelheim Fonds. So they require a research proposal. So you have to write at least 10 to 15 pages of a research proposal. Then on the basis of that, they select you. So for
I,
that kind of, but for like if you're applying directly to a lab, then you don't need.
I guess you can just maybe send an idea, or let's say to him that discuss an
Yeah,
idea.
yeah. In your motivation letter.
If you want to keep those ideas safe, I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
research 10 labs, maybe, I don't know. Sometimes I'm not sure it happens, but what is the future after studying in Germany? I mean, or and work permit. I think this question suits you well. It's not for me. It's like, what's your future after studying in Germany? I mean, or and work permit. I think it talks about the future after studying. Like, if you want to go.
Yeah, so it depends on the person as well. So let's say I'm doing PhD, then I can further go for postdoc, and maybe later on I could apply for junior group leader or something. Then there is future a lot. I mean, and if you want to have a transition from your PhD to industry, then also there is a lot of opportunities.
Mhm.
PR or work permit. It's little bit different here. uh, I guess it's different within whole Europe.
Yeah,
So getting a PR is not that easy as compared to Canada or US. I mean, in
yeah.
US also it's not easy. Yeah.
Also getting a bit tough. I mean, I know that in Sweden, for example, some colleagues who are from India who have the PhD, like they were just students here, not paying any taxes, I guess, but they were just students. But it was like after 5 years they have this PR, permanent residence,
Mhm.
but passport and other things. I don't know if you wanna be like a citizen or immigrant to other countries.
Yeah, that takes, I guess, more than 8 years.
So I mean that's depends on. So
Yeah.
before everybody asks more question because we may be also out of time because we can
Yeah.
for 1 hour I think. So you already introduced yourself. You're from Germany, and I think if you can go a really brief short that you were from India, and I know that you have.
Yeah, I'm from north part of India, from Uttar Pradesh, Varanasi. And yeah, my if so why so the question is main question. So why we are doing this STEM club, or so basically to like inspire others who are working in the STEM field, and also to motivate each other and to share our experiences. So how we cope up with this, as you have asked a question to Kiki, that how we cope up in this COVID situation, in this pandemic situation. So in these kind of things, where it would be helpful, and also for communicating our science to non-scientific groups. So that's why we started this STEM club, I guess.
Yeah, that's the main initiative of this.
Yeah,
It's all brainchild of you and Kiki.
yeah.
So next is uh, let's say this question: how did you get interested in science? You made your gateway to Europe, and you may discuss about in brief words like how you made it from India to here, and also communicate your part of research, what you are doing, just in very brief.
Yeah. So I mean, this interest in science was like from high school, I would say. But it, just to like uh, compress it, I completed my bachelor's and master's in India from Lucknow, and then I was working as a junior research fellow in a prestigious not in university, in an institute in India. Then I got some experience, and I was like looking for PhD positions in abroad. And then I got to know about there was a program in Hungary. It's called ITC program, International Training Course, which was really helpful for me. I got nice exposure and also got nice experiences, and because of that only I got a PhD position here in Germany, which is really very nice lab here. So yeah, this was the kind of journey.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of what I said initially. I came through the same route, so it's a gift for your
Yeah,
success, your
yeah.
research. And also, you can give a brief overview what you are doing. I mean, not the deep level of your project, but
Uh,
just overview what you are doing.
So yeah, just like a short introduction, I would say I'm investigating the molecular mechanism for like hibernation process, like how some animals go into hibernation, and if we can, let's say after a few years or a decade, we can induce this hibernation process in humans as well. So I'm working with C. elegans as a model organism, and yeah, I don't want to talk deep about this. Yeah,
Interesting.
because it's it's still in the process. So yeah.
If you, I don't know if I understand well. I'm working with plants, but if I understand well, hibernation in animals, it happens, but in humans, it's not seen much. Like,
So yeah, it is. I mean, humans cannot go in hibernation, but there is a condition which so in medicine it's possible. So what doctors do in uh, so for they can put humans for like a small period of time, which is called as torpor.
hmm?
So that means there are chances to induce this torpor stage for like it is a short period which can be extended, because if you will see C elegans, so there are many genes which are conserved from C elegans to humans. So that's why we are investigating for C elegans, and then maybe further on we can also investigate on humans as well, or maybe this research could help to investigate on humans, which
Interesting
could be
topic.
beneficial for space travel or something like that.
What if they can make hibernation when they are traveling? They don't need the food or other stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
That's interesting. Also, the next question is about which I asked to Kiki also, which I would like to ask to you is how did the pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic, affect your work and your, if any, had if issues or, for example, your scientific part? How did it affect you in science actually?
So in science, I would say, I mean, there was no effect in respect to funding or anything, but there was difficulties because of the this lockdown issue, that we cannot work for like as we work for like 8 to 10 hours. So it was really very difficult situation. Also, we had a paper in a revision, so I had to work, and it was really stressful to manage in this pandemic situation. But yeah,
But usually for the bench work, it affects more like, so you want to commute from your home to the lab.
yeah, that was the thing. But yeah, at the end, my professor, he requested from university to provide us a kind of a certificate, if in case police ask that why you are going out, or you are out for like, let's say 10 in the in night or so, so we can show that certificate that we are doing research in this institute, and we are allowed for that.
Yeah,
So that helped, but it was in around mid of May or so. Yeah.
okay. Hope the things get better and more.
Yeah.
Also, the pandemic affected in a way that the fundings are kind of stopped at, and
Someone is. Yeah.
so there is a, let's say, the the fundings are not so defined at the moment. People are just gripping it because of the pandemic. The science little bit they put money in other parts, but I think also there you can see that the positions are not open too much. But
Yeah.
now open up and pile up the things in Europe. The few grants I heard, like for Erasmus funding, they are trying to increase 3 times money for up to 2027. So I guess it's now it's opening up again. I hope this thing never happens again. And science is
Yeah.
important.
So yeah, so there was a situation. Yeah, I remember now that one of junior group leader, she applied for grant for DFG in Germany. DFG is the grant agency. So that was rejected, that project, which was really nice project. I mean, everyone in the lab was assuming that she will get that grant, but yeah,
Mhm.
somehow it was rejected, and percentage of rejection of the grants was like from 5% to 95%. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
previously it was like 5% before pandemic, but in this pandemic situation, it increased to 95%.
Yeah. If at the moment you write a grant about some, let's say now, any virus vaccination stage, or you want to develop any,
Yeah.
let's say, anatomy or other things of the viral structures and things. So in that case, if you have a project oriented at the moment, I think it becomes more catchy of the situation, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, you're right.
Correct, I guess.
That's true.
These are the questions what I was interested to asking to both of you, and I think we don't have any questions, but there is a comment like if I think it's like about your topic like hibernation. Is it similar, maybe like induced coma in therapy? Like
Uh, so who
that
asked?
induced coma should be like they where there is a medically
Yeah, it's kind of a coma only. So in let's say some animals who are going in hibernation. So in hibernation, all metabolism slows down, which is kind of a cold coma. We call it cold coma. So everything stops or slow down, and yeah, this is the thing.
Okay, the next question. The new lockdown in Germany will affect your work somehow. Will it affect your?
I don't know. So yesterday it started this new lockdown. Let's see how it
Yeah,
will affect.
that's for sure. I mean, let's say maybe for some limited time it may affect or not.
Yeah, I mean, it could affect because as I mentioned, that usually we work from like not it's a little bit flexible. It's not like a job that you are working from 9 to 5, and also we have bench work, so we don't have this kind of working from home thing.
Yeah.
So we have to go to lab. So in that case, yeah, it's a little bit tricky or difficult, I would say.
So in that case, now we are almost done with the topic things,
Yeah.
and we will also like to know, or like not to know. I would like to tell that the future we will have some people who will be our guests. We will host one of among us will be hosting them. If you have questions for now from anything for today, you can post us. I will also keep the video in IGTV, so you can share it, or you can, if it's interested, if it's helpful for people. So if you have any questions or any suggestions that how we can improve or what could be the next topic, or we can any discussions, I would like the audience who is watching, or if they can anytime just post or message any of us, or just post the question now or anything suggestions now. And also we would like to have, this is what I said, the next speaker will be maybe next week or bi-weekly, so we are just working on it, and we will advertise it officially, and we will see who is coming and who will be the first speaker as for this first session, next session, let's say. And I think at the moment, this is what it is at the moment. This is what we have from all. And this is the STEM Club initiative, which I will again tell that this initiative is among the, it can be, it's at the moment, it's us three, it can be you, and it can be all of us. So
Yeah.
people who are not aware how to go approach, how to, let's say, get entry into PhD or masters. We will also work on the bachelor internships, master internships, and we are also trying to come up with the other session and other advertisements where we will post opportunities in science. So for example, if there are any positions, jobs, and postdocs, and there will be also some expert who will talk, or some person who will talk about how to write a motivation letter and how we can approach. So this is coming with time, but in that case, with the time, we will slowly pile up the things, and I hope it will be interesting for all of you. And you can always post, comment us how we can improve it. That's what we need from the audience, what people want, and how we can be a kind of helpful. We have some minor experiences, so we can share that with them, and we can the best way of how we can. And thank you, Piyush, again, and thank you, Kiki, for part of this and for your time today, because I should end this session for today now.
Yeah. So thank you everyone who joined our session, and yeah, thank you very much for hosting us, and hopefully we will host other persons as well.
Yes, for sure. Thank you for this.
Okay. Bye bye.